So I've been thinking this conversation about, oh, is God real? This conversation about faith and all of that. I actually think that it is logical. You can come to the conclusion of God even by logic. Yeah, the human brain is very complex, and I think that looking at the very makeup of the brain, sometimes I just think how much time it took God to make the brain. It's quite complex, and man has become what it is. If you look at the sophistication that man has brought to the planet from various spheres, various areas of human endeavor, from science, all of the forms of science that we have, architecture, geology, construction, electronics and mechanics and all of that. So you will see man bringing logic to bear. You will see man, actually taking advantage of the brain and exploring his environment. Now, I actually think that in the same vein, there is a level of, understanding of spirituality that we can actually come to by engaging our soul, our mental capabilities. I am a Christian, and I also respect the decision of anybody to be Muslim or a member of any other faith. I'm a Christian, and I believe that Christ is the only way to God. But you see, before we even get to that level, I believe that we can first try to understand God even by logic. You can come to the understanding that there is actually a God even by logic. Yeah, I believe that every human being who is sincere can first come to the knowledge of God by first engaging the mind. Now, I understand all of that spirituality that, faith people and as Christians will say, you need some level of eye-opening, spiritual awakening to actually get to appreciate God, to get to see God and embrace faith. I agree, but I am also saying that to a large extent, you can, by logic, come to some understanding of God. You can. Like Jesus would say, John 14 now, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except by me. Then he says again in John 6, no one comes to me except the Father draws him. So there is some level of spiritual awakening that you will have to receive to be able to appreciate and see faith the way it is. But again, by engaging the mind, by logic, you can already come to some level of understanding that truly there is a God. I believe that if we are to be sincere with ourselves as humans, I believe that to a large extent, the brain already has the capacity to appreciate the fact that there is a God. I believe that if you look at nature, you look at the earth and the universe, the wild, the ocean, I believe that any human being who is sincere can already come to the understanding that there is a supernatural being that is behind all of the things that we see in the universe. I think it is pretentious for any human being to say that I do not believe in God because there are no evidences. I think that it is pretentious. It is to rush to conclusion, because if you engage your mind enough, I think, and you are sincere with yourself, I think that we can actually come to a level of understanding that actually there is a being, a supernatural being behind all of this. Now, you may not believe in what some people call the sky god, like we Christians or maybe other faith people do, that there is a God up there. You may not believe it the way faith people do, but I think that it is not forgivable for anybody to pretend that you have never had to, even as human beings, reason and believe that there has to be a supernatural being behind what we see in the universe and all of that. You may not believe in the whole concept of eternity. You may not believe that, there's life after death. You may not believe, even though it is true, but I can cut you some slack. But I believe that every human being, by engaging the mind, should be able to come to terms with the fact that there has to be a supernatural being behind creation. I think every human being who is sincere, you can look at the earth and look at creation and just come to the understanding that there is a being. There's a being behind creation. These things are actually created. There is a supernatural being out there that supervises the affairs, of the universe and also behind creation. Some people say they are atheists, they don't believe in God. I think with all due respect, that in itself doesn't make a lot of sense. Even those people who say, we don't believe in God, we don't believe in anything, we don't believe in creation, we don't believe there's a God, they actually do believe in something. They do. Every human being believes in something, actually. So I believe that sincerely, anybody who professes to be an atheist, it's usually denying reality, because I believe that if you engage your mind enough, you will at least come to a level of understanding that there has to be, whether you be Christian or whatever, like Jesus would say, you are close to the kingdom. Like you can come to the understanding that, hey, there's something here. There is a being out there that actually is behind creation, because evolution don't make sense. Yeah, I tried not to believe in God. So I say all of this because I tried not to believe in God. I tried to say, all of this is just some fable, all of this. I tried it. The more I tried to act like, the more I tried to believe that, and the more I tried to question faith, and the more I tried to not believe that there's a God, the more I realized that I was actually fooling myself. Because every time I could see that it didn't make sense to actually believe that there is no God, or there's no being, no supernatural being behind creation. Every time I tried to do that, the more it didn't make sense to me. And I believe it is the same for every human being. I believe that as human beings, if we engage our mind enough, at least we will be able to come to the conclusion that truly there is a being behind, everything that we see. Nature, the universe, there's a being behind creation. Evolution don't make sense. Evolution actually doesn't make sense, because I sometimes wonder how people get to settle for evolution. Even with all of the so-called lack of evidence, it makes more sense to believe creation than to believe evolution. Yeah, it does. It does. It would appear to me that why people turn their back against the knowledge of God, why people reject the knowledge of God, many times is deliberate. A lot of people say they are atheists, they don't believe in God. Yeah, some of them actually do, but they reject the knowledge of God. A number of persons are just ignorantly following the bandwagon. But there are people who actually claim that the idea of faith doesn't make sense. They actually do believe that, maybe not entirely, but at least that there is something there, that there is a sense in the fact that there is a God behind creation. But you see, many times they reject the knowledge of God because it appears, with all due respect to them, it appears that the knowledge of God actually puts a moral burden on them. So if I believe that there is a God, then there is a moral obligation that puts on me. Usually that is the case, So there's a moral obligation that puts on me. So it's safer, it's more convenient to say, oh, there is no God. Evolution is the deal, So it's evolution, not creation. So it appears that is just a way of escaping the responsibility of accepting the confines of morality. The concept of God, the concept of faith, religion, actually is good. Whether you believe in God or not, already the concept of faith is good. The concept of religion is good because it's been tested over the years. It's been proven that faith, to a large extent, has influenced civilization positively. Yeah, it has. All of the things you see in the Western world and even in the Middle East and civilization over the years is informed by faith. All of the laws that we live by today, all of the structure, everything that counts as civilization, everything that counts as civilization today, usually is propelled by religion, faith. Go back in history. Let's even go back to most recently the Roman Empire. Down to date, it's faith. It's faith. The United States and the systems of government we have come to embrace, even democracy and all of the way that government is now structured, rules, that governs the various sections of society, is all informed by faith. At the roots is faith. The Hebrew 10 Commandments. So already it is proven that faith is good. If you remove faith from the world today, if you remove God from the world today, the idea of God, the concept of God, I tell you the truth, society is going to be in total anarchy. If we are lucky, we make a year or maybe two. Society is going to be in total disarray, in total anarchy. So already it is proven by time, and history, that faith is good. The concept of God is good. It is good. It is good for humanity. It has been good for human civilization. So what's up? What do you have with faith? So what is really the hassle? What is really the issue with accepting and retaining the knowledge of God? So for me, it is logical, it makes sense, it is good, and it should be sustained. By every standard, faith is a good thing. Faith is a good thing, religion is a good thing, the concept of God is a good thing. And I believe that any sincere human being who lives on this planet, who is courageous enough to engage the mind, to really process this thought, I believe that you will come to a reasonable conclusion that truly there has to be a God, like the Christians say, or maybe any other religion. I think coming to that knowledge is at least a decent ground for us to have a conversation about, the other things that we need to talk about when it comes to the faith conversation. I don't think it's such a difficult thing to come to at least that point, that truly there is a supernatural being behind the affairs of the universe. There is a supernatural being behind creation. Creation is real. God is involved in creation. There is a God truly that deserved to be served. There is a God that truly made the universe and humanity. There is a God behind creation. Now, it would be unfair totally if this is not even true. Of course, God understands the challenge we are going to face as human beings to believe in a God that we do not see. And I know God is good. He's always good. He's good all the time. And even in the Bible, there are examples of people who actually were also in some dilemma, but had to engage their mind, and they were able to come to some level of conclusion that truly there's a God. And then God came in to help them to be able to come to another level of understanding. One that easily comes to mind is Cornelius. Cornelius in the New Testament, in the book of Acts, who showed kindness to the Jews because he believed in the God of the Jews, the God of creation. He believed that there's some sense in this worship that this set of people practice. He believed it because it was reasonable. It made sense, Like I said, I tried not to believe in God. I tried to test the knowledge of God by my mind, logically. I tried to not believe in the whole concept of God, concept of faith. I consider myself a very smart person, and I think it is actually a smart thing to come to the understanding of God first, by logic, by knowledge, by the soul. And I actually think evolution is quite dumb. Let's be sincere with ourselves. Come on. It makes more sense to believe creation. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to see your comments. You can drop your comments in the comment section and let's just have a conversation. How has it been for you if you're a Christian, or maybe you're even a Muslim, or whatever faith you profess? I'm a Christian, but I want to hear your faith journey. What do you think about the much that I have said, having to come to some level of understanding of God by logic already? I believe that it is possible by logic to understand a bit of God. I think that the human mind already can come to terms with the fact that there is a God behind creation and there is a God, behind the affairs of the universe. If we can come to terms on the concept of God first, that truly there may be some sense in this. There may be some, sense in the fact that, there is actually a God out there. I think that is the very first step to take in the understanding of God. So let me hear your thoughts. Let me hear what you think, and we can have a really wonderful conversation. Let's build a community here where we can really talk freely. Probably some of the things you can't even get to talk about in your churches. We can have a little community here and we can get to talk. So this faith conversation is not ended. We're going to continue to talk about it. There's still a lot of thoughts I want to share. There's still a lot to talk about. Please jump on the conversation. Let's talk. Please subscribe to the channel and drop your comments, and also please do like. God bless you. So guys, welcome to the channel. It's Pleroma Culture. Basically, we'll talk about faith and faith-related matters, talk about church matters within Nigeria, in Africa, and all around the world. Faith matters, basically, that is what the channel is about. Please jump on it. These are little community, a little, church. Like Christ did say, where 2, 3 are gathered, I am there, and indeed, it's a church. So come on, join this little community and let's have some really wonderful conversation regarding faith and church. My name is Efe. I'm looking forward to having you around.